I'm Coach Nikki G. Welcome to my podcast of Peace, Light, and Love Confessions. It is my belief that true healing begins when truths are revealed. So I created a safe space for individuals to come and share their truths and the raw and unfiltered parts of their journeys. In this space, you have the freedom to be unapologetically you. The purpose of this podcast is to help people in their healing journey. I'm also hoping to change behavior patterns that has left many people emotionally, mentally, and spiritually damaged. These behaviors have some of us bound to people, toxic relationships, and addictive behaviors that we have passed down to our children. When do we say enough is enough? It's time to change these behaviors and create a healthy environment for ourselves and our families. Today, I want to talk about something very, I feel is important. Usually, the end of the year, the beginning of the year, some of us find ourselves in places that we don't know how to navigate to get out of. So let me start with these common phrases that some of us have used or you may have heard before. If it's not one thing, it's another. Or every time I take 2 steps forward, I'm thrown 1 step back. These are commonly used phrases that represent how life can sometimes take you in a direction that can be hard to navigate. You become overwhelmed, stressed, and you may feel like you just can't see your way forward. Someone right now may be listening to me, or maybe you're watching me, and your life is just in a spiral. You're on a path, but your path has clutter. It's cluttered with guilt, shame, possibly depression, and many other things, and you can't see your way forward. This podcast is designed to help you to have sight in your dark season. My guest is here today to help us with this subject. She is a motivating, has positive energy. I've seen her do much work in her community, helping people, bringing people to the light. She loves God and all of his people. Her name is Tabitha Whitten. How are you?
I'm doing great. My God. How are
Welcome
you?
to Confessions.
Yes, confessions. Yay! I'm super excited to be here.
Well,
Thank
I am
you.
so glad that you can make it here today
I'm glad to be here.
and
I
tell us
really am.
about them dark seasons.
Oh, God have mercy. Dark seasons. I think that the truth is every life has a few dark seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that I learned about dark seasons, if we tell the whole truth, sometimes the darkest seasons that we live through, we don't even really recognize at the moment that they're dark seasons. And I think that that's what makes a dark season dangerous. But if you can live through it and reflect on it, I believe it can be very
Yes.
developmental, should I say. I believe that. Yeah.
And I believe the dark seasons, that is the purpose, for you to develop your inner strength, your inner self.
Absolutely. I believe that. I believe that because we know that when seeds are planted, they're planted in the ground, which is a dark place. Mm-hmm. And it is a dark place that gives them the feed and the room that they need to grow to be everything that they're supposed to be. So, don't rush that dark away, and don't discredit what the dark may be deposited in your system. I think that's the most important thing. But again, sometimes because we live in such what I would call delusion, that we don't even recognize dark. We can be so deceived, Nikki, by a dark season that it's not until we come out of the dark that we recognize we've been in the dark.
Woo! Now that's a word.
Yeah, and that's the truth. And that's exactly what I've experienced. There have been experiences that I had where I knew this is dark, this is hard, I'm feeling depressed. But then there were seasons in my life, especially this last decade, this last 10 years. That's why I'm so excited to get out of it. I'm being very honest, because it was what I would call, what you say, if it ain't one thing, it's another. It was that kind of season for me, from one thing to another. I can remember at the end of 49, I started feeling kind of weird. I thought it was menopause, I really did. I just thought it was menopause, and I just started feeling off. I knew that things were not where they needed to be. And I'd been in full-time ministry for about 11 years, and I began to kind of, settle into a place, but I knew I was off. And so I just started kind of asking some of my friends that were around my age, hey, around 49, did you start feeling a little off? And they were like, no. And I was like, they lying, or, they're not willing to be honest. But it was my experience. So I knew I was off, went into 50, taking care of my father that I really didn't know. He had had a stroke that really could have been fatal, but it just prevented him from being able to take care of himself. 5 years, take my dad in January. In May of that year, my sister dies. Now, let me just tell you, I already told you that I was off. And before I knew it, I found myself entangled in situations, relationships, just circumstances that were not healthy. But again, because sometimes you are going into a dark place and you fight it. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to maintain our strength. We want to maintain our routine. We want to maintain our lives. And so you go in, you go through it, and but you're off, things are going on. And sometimes it's not, like I said, until you get to the other side of the dark that you can reflect and say, my God, I could have lost my life. In fact, I was living like I was another person. And that is my truth about this last decade of my life. It's been very dark. I didn't recognize it to be as dark because I kept going. I kept showing up, but I was off. I was in place, but I was empty. I know people don't like to talk about that. In place, empty. Functioning, serving on a routine. Not from the root, but from the routine. When you're serving from the routine, that means you're not getting what you need to effectively pour out. You're in place, but you don't have anything to give. And I'm telling you, coming out, you get that revelation. You get that, what I would call that understanding that I was dead man walking. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it makes you sorrowful, but then that's when you appreciate grace. You start to understand how God's love really does carry us in times. And sometimes I believe he permits us not to know that we're in dark places, because I believe if we really understood how dark the time was, it would overwhelm us, especially in the midst of everything else that's going on. Now, I've had a multiplicity of dark times, but I'm talking about being in a dark place where I really wasn't aware. And the truth is, it was the most dangerous place, because had it not been for the grace of God to grab me, to help me, let me go ahead and say that, to help me,
Yes.
to get me out, then I believe I would have lost my life. That is spiritually and even naturally.
And I've been in a place like that as well. Like you said, we just going through. We just showing up.
Absolutely.
Just showing up. You just
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Shell yourself. I recently told someone that, my ex-husband, I told him, I said, let me tell you something. When I was in those dark places, when I was with that person, I thanked him. I said, because you know what? It taught me to lean on God.
Wow.
It built my faith. Because at the end of the day, when I was going through that depression, laying in that bed every day,
Wow.
nobody to talk to. My family is not here.
Right. Wow.
It built my faith.
Wow. Now I think that's great. But see, when you're a person like me, one of the things that coming into the reality of your reality, for me, there was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of, as we said earlier, how in the world did I get here?
Exactly.
And I believe that many times going in dark places, especially for the people that are supposed to be spiritual, it's the thing that moves us away from God. It should be the thing that you would think would draw us to God. But because when we are aware that we're out of alignment, it does something to us, especially those of us who love God for real. And, you never intended to be in the places that you find yourself in. Sometimes it's so shameful that, like Adam and Eve, for certain, you find yourself trying to hide out and move away from God, because it's a very embarrassing situation. And sometimes it's between you and God only. Everybody, nobody else has to know, but you know, and God knows. And again, talking about grace that will pull you back. When you are moving away, grace will pull you back to God, because he knows that without being in his presence, you don't have the power to live. You don't have the power to move forward to the place that he's designed for your life. So I have learned that it's not when I am strong, it's not when I'm weak that I run to God. I find that when I'm weak, I found myself running away from God. And the thing that I love is that God does what's necessary to move your path back in a circle to him. That's my experience. Yeah. My experience is not, I'm so broke down that, oh Lord, have mercy. No, I don't know if it's my temperament. I don't know what it is, but it's like, God, how did I get here? Lord, have mercy. This shouldn't be me. This shouldn't be, you know what I mean? That self-will, that self stuff is what gets us in trouble. But God's love, actually, I'll tell you what happened to me. I was pretty upset with my sister, who was struggling with an addiction. I'd rented her a car and she just wasn't doing right. So I took the car. I was taking it back to the rental car place. And I don't know what happened, but I just ran a red light. The cop came up behind me. I knew I ran the red light. I didn't have an argument. I knew I had. So when he said, ma'am, you ran the red light, I said, yes, sir, I did. I'm sorry. I was just trying to take this car back. I got a lot of things on my mind. He said, well, you need to slow down, because this is a small car. If you get hit, it could really be fatal. You just need to be careful. And he said, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but I do need for you to slow down. I said, yes, sir. The cop walks away, and instantly the Lord says to me, you've just experienced grace. Listen to me. You've just experienced grace. Grace that you didn't deserve. Grace that you knew you didn't deserve. Here it is. Grace that you weren't expecting to experience. But this is my love trying to capture you right where you are. And if you'll let me, I want to make things right. It's at that point that I was able to recognize that God's grace was really available. I didn't have to run around trying to evade God, trying to right my situation. What I needed to do was relax and allow his love to help me get my life back on track.
Yeah, that part.
That is.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
right.
That is.
It's grace.
That's a reality.
And when you said that we often run away from God, that is so true. Because at some point in your life, you do run away from God.
Yes. And sometimes it's when it's not some, because we tell people don't get, because people get up and they go away. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people, because they're so down, they go away. And I don't think that we always understand that, because usually when it's that bad place, that low place, we believe that would automatically push us to God. But there's a tug of war. There's a real fight when people are in low places. And sometimes they don't have the strength to even stretch out to try and get back to God.
And I heard that before. So, like when people at their lowest point.
Yes.
Well, why God got me here?
Listen.
I hear that too.
Listen. I'm telling you, it like I said, sometimes, because I've been in low places where, get out of college and go to jail, and it seems like your life is over. That's a different kind of low than, finding yourself doing some stupid stuff that you know better than. Mm-hmm. And you just find yourself just in a spiral, as you said, and before you know it, you're in a place you never thought you'd be, you never wanted to be. But the reality is that you're there. And it, again, for many of us, it's not until we get on the other side of that we recognize how dark things were. Truth is, sometimes we can, like me, look at your body. Your body's out of line. You begin to gain weight, or your associations. Let's talk about that. The people that you're hanging out with. They're a number of things. Your patterns change. All of those things are telltale signs about where you are and that a problem may exist. Your pattern doesn't tell you what the problem is, but it can tell you that there is a problem. And we have to begin to discern dark times. And in those dark times, I believe that there are particular things that we can do.
What is something that we can do if you find yourself in a dark season?
Tell the truth about it.
Ooh, share your truth.
Tell the truth. I mean, I just think that, again, sometimes we're in darkness and we don't know it, because we can have that veil over our eyes. We can just be in a place. That's true. But when you know it, because God, it's not his will for us to perish. It is not his will for us to be in a place that is not good for us. That's not God's will. So he will reveal not just where you are, but he will reveal why you are where you are. And I think the best thing that we can do is not say, oh no, that's not me. Oh no, that's not my problem. We got to move from denial. As long as we're in denial, we cannot be delivered. Can I say that one more time? As
Please.
long as you're in denial, you cannot be delivered. And just because you acknowledge where you are doesn't always mean that you understand how you got where you are. But you have to be able to tell the truth. I'm in a bad place. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm out of place. Here it is again, where I started before I began to spiral. I'm off. But see, you can have people who are not in touch with you, and they will tell you, because you're still showing up, ain't nothing wrong with you. Stop tripping. But
yeah,
I'm off. And so I think the first thing that we can do, I always say, is if you tell the truth, you can get a turnaround. It may be tough, but you can get a turnaround. I think you need to tell the truth. I think you need to tie yourself to a person or to be accountable. I believe that. I believe that you need to make a decision. You need to stay disciplined. And as you continue to move forward, I believe you can be delivered and developed all at the same time. I believe that, because there's no sense in being developed. Delivered. Ain't no deliverance without development.
that's true.
That's delusion. You understand what I'm saying?
Delusion. Jesus.
No, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
So for me, my first thing was having to come to grips with, I'm in trouble for real. Not I'm just off. I was just off, but now I done went off. You understand? So telling that truth, and then having someone in your life that you're able to talk to. Yes, we talk to God, but I believe that there is a human being that we're on earth with, that we can connect to, that we can tell our truth to, that will help us to be accountable. Accountable with what? The steps that we need to take. There's no such thing as doing the same thing, getting a different result. You understand? And so we can talk to ourselves and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But if nobody knows that but you and God, nobody knows that, then you don't really have anyone to keep you accountable.
That's true.
That is why when people say they are called to ministry or they have confessed Christ as their Savior, I encourage them to tell somebody. You know why? Because it's going to make them accountable for how they show up. It allows someone to know what your truth is. And that ain't always easy.
No, it's not.
But that's like putting it on the table for real. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not always, the most horrendous thing. It doesn't matter what it is, but whatever it is that has created the trouble in your life. And sometimes you may not know what that is. That's the other reason you need to talk to someone, because they're skilled people that can help you walk through what's going on in your life and help you be accountable to taking the steps so that you can get the turnout that you're looking for.
And I spoke earlier about breaking certain behavior patterns, and one is the stigma of not getting help.
Listen,
You got to be able to speak your truth to someone. I say that on all of my podcasts. You have to be able to speak your truths.
that's
You
absolutely
can't
right.
heal. You can't move forward until you put them truths out there.
As a licensed social worker, one of the most difficult things for especially our community is seeking help outside of the house. Oh! Do you hear what I said? Because most of the help in the house is not right. I don't mean that in a bad kind of way, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
So we have to be willing to seek help outside the house that's really positioned to help us. I'm not talking about Lucy and John, who's going through the same thing that you're going through. Because just because y'all can swap stories doesn't mean that y'all can get, the strength that you need to do something different in your story. So I believe that there are skilled people that are in the earth realm. Your pastor, no disrespect, I am a pastor. But not every pastor is skilled to deal with some of the things, especially in the mental health realm of existence that people deal with. Now, so pray and what? Sometimes it's pray and then there's something that needs to come past praying. I know we get in trouble when we start talking about that, but sometimes pastors are not skilled to help people deal with the things that they're dealing with. And the truth is, sometimes the places that we go for help, I'm talking about the church now, become a part of the problems that we're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that we have to not be afraid to seek help outside the house. That's counselors, that's therapists, that's psychologists, psychiatrists, you know what I mean? Social workers. Let me throw us in there. You can't be afraid to seek help, outside of the house. And when it's at a point where the places and the people that you've gone to, and if you, one more time, you got to stand your truth. This is not helping. Things are not getting better. Don't be afraid to go beyond the place that you've gone.
One other thing that I found that causes a lot of damage is the saying, what goes on in this house stays in this house. I found that majority of my guests suffered for years because they kept that mentality and they were quiet about their situation.
Right.
Until something triggered them one day to say, you know what, I'm going to share my truth.
Right.
So I think we need to change that behavior.
Right.
It's time to speak up. Say something.
But because what goes on in the house, if it stays in the house, it continues to burn the house down.
Woo! That's a word.
So, and I think that, but again, I think that as we put the word out, as people are more transparent and stop presenting what I call make-believe lives before people, we're human, we hurt, we fall, we get up. When we start to present the truth about that, then I think that people won't be so embarrassed. Because when you think about it, our forefathers, there was so much embarrassment and shame about just telling the truth about you're just human. I just don't know how, or this is just a problem. So everybody wanted to present perfect. But the truth was, everybody knew that you weren't perfect. You didn't have to talk about it because everybody knows when you showed up with that black eye, when you came and you were drunk, or that uncontrollable anger. Everybody already knew. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
So it's like having courage to tell the truth, having courage to deal with what's dealing or destroying you. I think that's the message, and that's the presentation that we want to put in front of people so that things can turn around.
Yeah, that's my goal here, to turn things around. And I often talk about the things that happen in my life because I don't want people to think that I just got here by chance.
Absolutely.
Things happen with me. A lot of things happen with me. A lot of years have passed. I mean, everything that she just described was my life.
Wow.
From the not recognizing myself to learning how to speak my truths and not be ashamed.
Right.
Asking for help.
Right. Right.
Because everybody that thinks they're helping you, like she said, they may not be helping you.
And they don't know it. Sometimes people do the best that they can, and we bless God for them.
Yes.
But the truth is, I think there's something made within us that knows I need more, that knows this is not it. That's not even the issue, though, because we can know that, but unless we are willing to act on what we know. And that's what I want to talk to people about. Being willing to act on what is giving you the acknowledgement in your inner man. We know when we're off. We know when we need more. We know when we're not at our best. We know that. We know when we're in what I would call imbalanced relationships. We know it. Now, we don't want to know it sometimes because there are other things, other benefits that we may gain, but we know. And the issue is not what we know. The issue is what we act on, acting on what we know. It's the action that gives the achievement or the accomplishment in our lives, not just knowing. You don't know if you don't act on what you know.
Yeah.
You got a box of information. Once you know, you'll know you know because you will act on it. You will do. And sometimes that's not necessarily knowing what to do, but you'll start finding out what needs to be done. That's acting on it. It's looking up information, asking questions. You understand what I'm saying?
Ooh, yes.
So I'm just saying that many times we know. And so I don't want anyone to discredit what they know. You already know this is not a good job for you. You already know this is not a good man or woman for you. You already know this is not a good church for you. I'm not trying to be funny. You already know that.
Yeah.
You already know this is not the car you're supposed to have. You already know that. But what do you do with what you know? This is what creates problems for us. You see, if I at 49 would have acted on what I knew, then here I am at 59. It wouldn't have taken me a whole decade to get some things settled and resolved. If I'd have acted on what I knew, I already knew it, but I allowed things to cause me to be comfortable in my chaos, and it only got worse. And I want to tell you that if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you, and it will not get better. It will only get worse. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's your finances. I don't care if it's your figure. I don't care if it's your romances. I don't care what it is. If you don't deal with what you know is off, it will deal with you. And usually it brings more destruction than good.
Yeah. And not only the destruction of your life, but your physical health as well.
All of that.
All of it will be destroyed.
All of that. All of that. And we don't recognize that. We don't recognize that. We don't always connect the dots. But I'm talking to you, my sister. I'm talking to you, my brother. I'm telling you that you cannot be afraid of what you know. I told him the other day that we have an inside informant. Your external doesn't have to tell you nothing. In fact, what you know on your inside, very seldom does it really line up with your external, because it is connecting with the spiritual, which is more apparent invisibly than that we see visibly. So that's what throws us off too. It's like, that don't make no sense. You know, case in point, my 60th birthday is coming up. Oh, I have been waiting to get that is huge shindig. My God, like 60? Yes. And the closer that I get to 60, the more I'm having this, I'm not so sure. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me because I've been waiting on this. But I know something. But I don't exactly know what I know, but I know I don't have that release. And what I have learned in 59 years is if it don't fit, don't force it. That's what I'm trying to say. So pump your brakes, because there's something else that the Spirit of the living God is trying to convey. And I have to be willing to allow him to lead, allow him to inform me based upon what he knows and not just what I know. And so, whereas it used to make me a little uncomfortable, it's like, but I've been planning this. So like, slow your roll. So I'm just saying that we have to get to a point where we are willing to acknowledge what we know, and we need to start acting as if we know it. And sometimes we don't act because we know that that's going to create issues with our associations, possibly with some of the activity that we're aligned to. It creates problems. But the problem that's created should not, it does not compare to the power that God is releasing in our lives. When we discern or decide that we're going to go with what our inner is giving us, I'm talking about the Holy Spirit, what he's depositing, it's a power that can deal with any problem that we have to deal with. That's only when we're willing to act like we know. You already know. You're going through phone logs, but you already know. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got people following people, but you already know. You already know. So now what you're just trying to do is verify what you already know. But the mere fact that you got it gives you the information that you that you need.
You already know.
So we have to be willing to go with what we know. Go with what we know, even if that means go away from something or someone.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that's not always easy, because
It's not easy.
we want what we want, but at some point you got to listen to the Spirit. And I tell people on a smaller level, sometimes you're driving and you're like, something told me not to go over there. That something is the Spirit telling you not to do it.
Yes. But we have
It
to
works,
learn to, yes.
But we, like you
Yes.
said, we don't listen to it, we don't act on it, and we keep on doing the things that we want to do.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's the most familiar thing. You see, the Spirit of the living God usually is leading us and taking us into dimensions and on a path that's not familiar. That's not a path or something that we would naturally choose. Mm-hmm. And so nobody wants that. You want the path of least resistance. You want what you understand, even though it's all kind of big holes in the road, but that way. You rather have to go around the holes or drive slow while your tire's going. You rather do that than allow the Spirit to lead you down a path that you've never been before and avoid all these holes and wrecking your front end. You much rather do because you know it, because you're comfortable, because that's what you always do. But at some point, we've got to be willing to do something new to get the better for our lives.
Wow. Now that's a word. To do something different, something better.
But again, it starts with telling the truth. Because the truth is, until you can tell the truth that this is bad, that this ain't working, that this is not what I intended, or this is not what I want, until you can tell that truth, you're not going to be able to do anything different. So my prayer becomes that the Lord releases our minds. I'm being honest, to release our minds, to let us have an opening for us to get out. You understand? Mm-hmm. You remember when the prophet was talking to his servant, and he's telling him, that there's more for us than are against us, and the servant is like, "Man, we all encamped in." And here's what the prayer of the prophet is: Lord, open his eyes. Open his eyes so he can see. So my prayer many times before I start working with people or dealing with a particular situation, my prayer before ever touching is, Lord, open their eyes. Because until your eyes, your mind, your heart can be open to be receptive, you can't get out.
And I also tell people, once you say that prayer and God starts to reveal things to you,
Ooh.
God starts to remove things out of your life.
Listen,
I wasn't prepared. I said, I wasn't prepared. I said, oh, Lord, not that person too.
Yes.
But you know what? I had to keep my faith and know that is his will for my life.
Yes.
So I had to let it go. I let a lot of things go.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, when I first left my job, I keep saying when I first left my job because that was such a liberating, scary time for me. But one of the things that the Lord said to me was, I'm going to show you everything so that you'll know what you're dealing with. And so I thought God permitting me to be in touch with everything was, because I'm pretty, I'll confront things, I'm not going to let you lie to me. I'm going to let you know. I know you're not telling the truth. That's a lie. That ain't real. That's not what you did. That's not what you said. I'm that person. If somebody calls me and says, well, someone said, or son, I'm like, well, hold on. Let me put them on three-way because I don't play like that.
Yeah.
And so the Lord said to me, but it's not for you to confront. It's for you to be aware so that you'll know how to continue. So listen, some of the things that the Lord started exposing blew my mind. I'm being very honest. I'm talking about my chief supporters were sometimes the people that were most damaging to my life and to my work. Listen. And I have a friend who says to me, Tabby, you just being too hard. And every time I say, I'm telling you what I saw. I'm telling you what I not that person. You just been, and every time she says come back and say, you know what? You were spot on. I know everything looked right. Everything looked good, but it wasn't good. And so God again exposing it so that I would know exactly what I was dealing with, so that I'd know how to move forward. And again, here's the thing, that sometimes it wasn't to uproot, to put people away. It was to let the wheat and the tare grow up together. Can I talk to you?
Ooh, yes.
Let it grow up together, because that wheat is getting a support from the tare. Oh my God. Did you hear what I'm saying?
Ooh.
And sometimes the Lord will use your enemy to bless you, to help you, to strengthen you in ways that you don't know, but you don't even always know who's who, because wheat and tare growing up initially, they both look alike. And he says, I'll do the separating, I'll do the dividing. And so I've just learned, I know what I know, and I let God deal, and he does. Now I make sure that I don't make no deals. You understand what I'm saying? No, I don't want to do it. You know, it's all right. I pass. Yeah, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You know, I'll pass. And so, you know, and it's painful. That's why sometimes it's like, I wish I didn't know, you know, because it's heartbreaking. You know, it's like, wow, I thought we were better than that. I can't believe that. You know what I mean? But two things. He said, protect your voice and protect your energy. I'm thinking he meant my rah-rah, you know, because I run and gun. I got all that energy. No, it wasn't that. It was the company that I was keeping, because if they weren't pure, if they had ill motives, it was going to, it would become a weight. And sometimes we don't understand that. And then my voice, I'm thinking, because I sing a little bit, he's talking about my voice, my texture. No, he's talking about your reputation. Make sure that you don't lose your voice. Make sure that your life is able to be the witness that it needs to be. And so, listen, you need to know. And that's why I'm letting you know who you're dealing with, because there's some people that you don't need to trust beyond what you can see. As long as they're right here and they do whatever, you don't need to assign nothing to them. You don't need to expect nothing from them. You understand what I'm saying? You just need to know, and you need to just keep going, keep doing, and make sure that you protect your energy and your voice, because I have something that I've determined from your life. Listen.
Let me tell y'all people, it's sad to say, but I'm just not learning that lesson that she just said.
Wow.
You know, it took me a long time to realize that I don't have to have all these different energies around me. Now I'm like a quiet storm. I just look at people. I use my discernment now.
Yes.
You know, and like
Yes.
you say, as we would say, we know what lane to put these people in.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. And I think that's wisdom, though.
Yeah.
I think that's wisdom. It doesn't have to be a commotion. It doesn't have to, but you know. And when you know, one more time, because you know, one more time, we know. It's not if we know. It's what we do with what we know. What is it Maya Angelou says? It says, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. I want to say this, when God tells you who they are,
Woo!
because you don't have to wait to see nothing.
There you go.
Because the truth is, because we have such great pretenders, the truth is we don't always see what is. But when God shows you, when God tells you, believe him the first time. And there it is. There it is.
Would have saved me 30 years of turmoil.
Yes.
Trauma.
Yes. But you know what I love about that? Even though those years that we go through and we have to deal with, you know, Romans 8:28 is wonderful, because we say the word teaches us that it all works together. You understand? Every tear, every heartache, you know, every disappointment, you know, every thing that tried to kill us but didn't. We know that God has a way of working damnation for our elevation. Wow! Did you hear what I said?
Damnation.
Did you hear what
the elevation?
Come on, talk to me. God has a way. God knows how to take the dirt that the enemy throws to cause us to have the lifting to get up higher. And so we must thank God. Even, you know, that's why for every mountain, you know, you brought me over. For this, I give you praise, because it didn't work against me, not like the enemy thought. But what God did was caused it to be used to bless my life. And I'm wiser. What do you say? I'm wiser. I'm stronger. I got to stop.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So this, I mean, and if, because some things I don't believe would be discerned any other way. Because God knows us so intimately. He knows what path what trial, what situation we need individually that will cause us to be better. Our issues and situations are tailor-made for our lives. I'm not going to deal with something that I couldn't deal with, because here's what the Bible says. It says there's no temptation except that which is common to man. It says, but God, who is faithful, will with the temptation provide a way of escape. What? Woo! Oh, listen. So whatever it is I'm dealing with, here's the truth. Here's what I want you to hear. You can deal with it. You can handle it. I know we become aware of that dark season. I know we become aware of those places where we are out of place and we're not where we're supposed to be. But I want to tell you that you don't have something that you're dealing with that has the ability to kill you. I want to say that first. You're not the only one that has dealt with it. You're not the only one that is having these issues. Maybe they're not tit for tat, but every other person has something that they're dealing with. And God knows what you can handle. If it's handed to you, then you can handle it. And here's the best thing. God's going to make sure that there's a way of escape for you to get out of it. The issue is if you are willing to take the escape.
Ooh, that part. Are you willing?
Come on. Sometimes
Do
that's
you want to
divorce.
stay comfortable?
Come on, talk to me.
Do you want to stay comfortable?
Talk
Are you
to
willing
me.
to move? And I was there. I was stuck.
Yes.
I had to pray to get out of that.
Yes.
But I made a choice. I chose to move on, move forward. I chose to listen to God and what He had for my life. And if you're listening to me right now, at some point, I expect for you guys to do the same. I'm praying that you do the same.
Yes.
Because it was like a big brick off my back.
Yes. Yes.
The loads I've been carrying.
Yes.
The people I was putting myself around, knowing I didn't have no business around them
Right.
people. That inner was just fired up.
Yes.
Nikki, what you doing?
Right.
You know you don't need to be
Right.
with this person. Nikki,
Right.
why are you hanging over
Right.
here?
Right.
Why you drinking? Girl, you know
Right.
you don't drink. What are you doing?
You just doing.
There you go, just doing.
You just doing. I mean, it's just not. And we go through those times. And, for some people, it may not be drinking, but, it could just be hanging out in places, or your appetite is changed where you start desiring things. It's like, where's that coming from? Why am I thinking about that? Why am I wanting that? It's that misalignment, and I believe, again, that we go through things to get to things. I believe that. I really do believe that. And I believe that sometimes the truth is, once we get on the other side, you can look back and understand how I got where I was, and then thank God for His processing to get me out. But I believe we have another responsibility. I think we live. I think we learn. But I think the other end of that is to lend something back, which is what you're doing, to other lives for them to be able to live better too. So it's not just about us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not just about us. It's not just about us arriving. It's not just about us achieving. It's not just about us getting out. It's not just about us pointing our fingers or knowing what the problems are, because I believe that the only reason we know what the problem is because we are part of the answer. You understand? Wow. And if we're not willing to be that aid, then I don't believe that we really have the right to talk about the agony of the situation. What are you willing to do? Again, since you know, not since you know here, but since you know, then what are you doing about, those young ladies that are possibly in these crazy situations that, you understand, to help them to understand. You understand? We can't make choices for them, but we at least can be the light and at least share the information. You know what I mean? So I think we live, we learn, and then we should be lending back so somebody can live better.
And that's the purpose. That is my purpose.
I know it.
That
I know
is my
it.
purpose.
But that's what makes life count.
Yes, and people come to me and they're like, "Oh, how much money you make with this podcast?" And I thought about it. I said, you know what? I never thought about money.
Right.
I'm thinking about that one person that comes to me and says, well, Nikki, I listened to your podcast, and you know what? It helped me to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Payment in full.
That is.
Payment in full.
Listen, that's it. That's it. And that's when you know you're on the path. That's when you know you're on the path. When it's about people and not possessions. That's when you know you're on the path. And I believe that when it's about people and not possessions, that's when God can trust you with possessions or with prosperity. I believe that. I believe that God is looking for what I would call good stewardship. Doing what he desires with what he releases. Not what I desire, but what he desires. And so, life can be a challenge. Life can be a challenge unless you have people who are true about the call, true about the work that they're doing. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of times people have great resumes, but it's a good resume, but it's after something other than what it's presented as. I think the best blessing is to know that you've been a blessing. You've been a builder in somebody else's life. There is nothing else that matters more than that. Nothing else. Nothing. And so, my desire is that we all get to that place. You know what I mean? Because when we get to that place, then we stop mishandling people. You know what I mean? There's a lot of hustle.
Yes.
There's a lot of game. But when we get to the place where we love and we really want people to live their best lives, I think because everybody wins then. Yeah.
That's the key.
Everybody
wins. This world can be selfish.
It is. It
selfish
is.
World.
It is. But that's why we have to come and be about something other than self.
Ooh.
We are in position to really make a change in the world. And I think that sometimes because we see so much wickedness, we don't believe that that's really possible. But it is. It is. It's hard to put light out. And I don't care how dark it is. The light will change the darkness. A little bit of light. So I'm saying just individually, our little light. But collectively, if we continue to be the light, shine the light, we're going to make the dent. We're going to make the difference. The enemy wants us to believe that we can't, but can't put the light out.
That's right. And my favorite verse, God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Come on.
Yeah. And it took for me to go through some things to realize that inner power that he's already given us.
Yes. But, and I think that we want to make sure that people recognize, Nikki, that going through is a part of life's experience.
Yeah. The dark seasons, it's part of it.
It's part of it. I mean, and sometimes we go through darkness or dark seasons for different reasons. I believe my dark season because of my own lack of what I would call dealing. That's what I believe. But I think that you can experience darkness because of persecution for doing right. You know what I mean? For a number of reasons. One more time, you can experience darkness as a result of death or depletion for a number of reasons. It's not always one dimensional. The issue is not if dark is a part of the season, because it is. Even the 24 hours is not all light. Dark is a part of it.
That's right.
So if we would understand that darkness is a part of the life experience, but darkness should be used as the place for development and not destruction. So don't cave because it's dark. Don't lose hope because it's dark. Here's mine. Don't move away from God because you're in a dark place. My teacher told me when I was in the 8th grade, he says, you can tell God the truth. He can handle it. So here's what I'm saying. Sometimes the truth is, God, I don't want to do nothing different. I don't know why. But right now, this is just where I am. God, because he already knows. Don't move away from God because that's the only hope that we have. Don't stop going to church. Don't stop reading your Bible. This is what I'm trying to tell people because he's the only hope that we have. And you'd be surprised at how you're sowing into your spirit and all at once, without you even knowing it, you'll start getting a strength. You'll start getting a focus. You'll start getting a will. that will help you get back in place as it relates to God's will for your life. So don't move away from God. Don't think the darkness is forever. Don't use darkness as the place to die. Darkness can be a place to develop us. And if we're determined, I'm not going to leave here without taking something from here, I believe we're going to be better when we get out of the dark place. That just means I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn, I don't want to go over there. No, I can't do that. Yeah, learn something in the dark so that you can live something better in the light.
Yeah, that part. Because a lot of us, we get in the dark spot, a dark season, and we can't get out of it, or we think it's no way out.
Right.
There's always a way out. You
Right.
just have to be willing.
Right.
Willing.
Right.
And sometimes God, I feel like, puts us in a place where we have to develop some type of relationship with him. You have to.
A personal
relationship. You have to.
Yes, because people have relationships, but it's their mama's relationship or their pastors. It's like, no, this is your place for you to get connected with God like you need to. Personal. And you can. Listen, you can. For the person that you've admired and the person that you have been inspired by, you can have as good a relationship as anyone that has touched your life has with God. You can have a real personal relationship that's powerful, that can help you to live on purpose. You can have that. And I think people need to know that. It's not just for platforms. It's for pew too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. With that being said, I hope that this information will help you when you go through your dark season. If you know someone that's in a dark season right now, please send them this information. If you know anybody that needs this information, let's share it. Like, share, subscribe, follow. I don't know where you might find me, but any of those things, please do it. Because I want the information to be out there. Because when I was struggling, that's what I would do. I would look for information, try to find, different things. And eventually I just ended up with the Bible, and then I got the answer. But, some people not there yet. So maybe this video may be a push for them to get the help or, just the information that they may need. Is there anything else?
I just want to, keep believing and, again, tell the truth. Reach out and touch somebody that can keep you accountable, and never stop expecting for your life to turn around. I believe that it will happen because God is able to do it.
Amen. I want to thank you for that word you brought here. I don't know about you guys, but I needed it. I knew who to call.
Listen, we can make it. We can get out, and we can get out with something. Yes.
Amen. With that being said, I want to thank you for listening, and we will talk again next week.